God, I love that applause. I'll tell you, especially as we near a holiday here, thinking how popular I am. And golly, the gals were up north.
You got the red shirt on.
I know. I look like a referee or something, or a target. I don't know which. Yeah. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us. And as Ray Michael said, hit that like button and pass this around. It's really important. I know those of you back east on Wimpkin, please pass this around. You guys have some real troubles back there. We're solving ours through this audit, but you guys got some real problems. So learn from the good guys out here in Arizona. We appreciate it. Tonight we have a special guest. It's Dr. Nicholas Meyer, and I'm going to let Ray kind of take over because Ray, you met him the other day at this event, the Deep Rig.
Yes, we were at the Deep Rig, and a lot of celebrities out there. And I happened to stop by a booth that was so incredibly interesting. And we present a lot of things that people are interested in. There's so many great organizations that are out there that really don't get the exposure that they should. Some that are very interesting, some that are informative, some that try to make things happen, and some just try to give you information that you may not be aware of. And I was so surprised. This is the American States Assembly. I happened to meet the doctor over there, and he was so cordial, and I told you that we wanted to get you here on the show. We didn't realize that it would happen so soon, because I called the doctor this afternoon at his office. He's a very, very, very busy doctor, and you were able to come out. Tell us a little bit about the American States Assembly.
Well, the States Assembly, American States Assembly, is an organization, grassroots, of going back to the original organic constitution of the United States of America. And when you start researching these things, you end up having a tremendous amount of new information that challenges all the historical things that you grew up with from your school. And one of the things that I've been enchanted with is uncovering what the truth is on how we got into the mess that we're in today. And with that, this is the origin of that for many years that I've been on this path. And I've only been involved with the group for about 2 years now. And prior to that, I did not know that there was an organization like this. But this is, we're basically wanting to reseat the de jure governments and everyone. They've all been reseated actually in the federated states of the United States of America. So there's it's a very fast growing thing because there's so many people that are really waking up is what we're seeing with the audit. And you saw the things in the big rig and the deception and the lies and the falsification of this and that ran up and down from the highest levels of government.
Well, I saw this here, and one of the things that you have on your brochure, the election rig is not the only lie you've been told. Now, this is surprising to many people because, they truly believe in the American way of life, the American government, and of course, they're looking out for my best interest. The CDC is looking out for me. The FBI is protecting me.
And
the
of
CIA.
course, Dr. Fauci especially is interested in our welfare.
He loves every single one of us. He's not looking to make a dollar on this. He's protecting us, and that's how we as Americans believe, because we are, in a way, good people. When you think of an event happening around the world, a catastrophe happens in South America, who's the first country that goes there? Is it Iceland? Is it Norway? No, it's the United States, because we have such a big heart. And so we want to believe these things. But you've been exposing, your organization that you're part of has been exposing a lot of these things. And I was so shocked. And I said, you know what? We have to bring this out, and we have to let people know about this. So tell us real quick, because we're going to be repeating it a few times. To get to you is American States Assembly. So American States Assembly.net. That's how they can get more information about this.
There's a lot of good information on that website.
So how did you said you've been involved about 2 years. How did you get involved? Now, you're a prominent dentist. Can we tell everybody? Can we get a little bit of background on you and what started this trek to look for the truth?
I started my personal journey when I was in college, and I came across a little newspaper out of Washington, D.C. called The Spotlight. Perhaps you may have come across that in your writings. And I learned of organizations that I'd never heard of, and every now and then they'll surface in some publication, the Bilderbergers, the Council of 300, the Council of Foreign Relations, et cetera, and the things that go on with that. So then I happened to go to a program many years ago and sat next to Ed Griffin. And he's the fellow that wrote The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Oh, yes.
A very thick book, and it just fascinated me and captivated my mind, and said, oh my gosh, this is such a huge piece. And at the time, that's my learning, I thought that was the only piece, and now I've come to find out it was a big piece and an important piece of the way things have gotten into our way of life that we have today, in the Federal Reserve Bank and the system, and all this interwoven type of interlocking pieces in the pieces of the puzzle. And so I've just kept learning and reading, and people would come across my path from now and then. And I'm actually not remembering how I came into this particular group, but I landed into it, and now I've been quite involved with it. You know, I was out supporting on Sunday for the Deep Rig, and that was a mind-blowing movie also. Oh my gosh, this documentary is just incredible about the depth of the delusions that we all live under in this country.
Yeah.
It gives a different meaning.
Well, Ron, I know that you couldn't be there for the premiere, but I know that you're going to be seeing it as well. You know, when we go to these events, and, you know, a lot of them are very prominent. You know, you think of Convention Estates. You know, it's getting a lot of play, you know, Mark Meckler and all of that. But you get an organization such as yours, it truly is grassroots. Ron, you've been working at the grassroots level for decades. You were heavily involved in the Tea Party as well. And it seems like all these little puzzle pieces are now being brought together. So tell me a couple of the things that you found out that maybe the average person doesn't know about the United States, how it was set up, the original intent, where we are now, and how we need to get back to where we should be.
So one of the things about this is that, do we, on an individual basis, know what our status in this great country is? And you come to find out there are three constitutions. You have the organic constitution of 1776 in that era. Then there was the next one, which is the municipal constitution, and then you have a territorial constitution. So sometimes you'll see a piece of mail coming across your desk, say from the Internal Revenue Service. Then another piece of mail will say the IRS. Those are two different organizations.
Really?
But our languaging, yes, they are. One's a
I
territorial.
didn't know that, and I've been an accountant and an auditor all my life, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they are aligned with the different jurisdictions.
So when you say municipal and territorial, you're not talking about like a city, municipality, and a territory of the federal government. You're not speaking in those terms. You're thinking it's something more than that.
It's along that line, but it is more than that. So the if I get this right, I'm still learning all this lingo, but it goes back to the Queen, which is our territorial government, and then the municipal government comes out of Vatican and the Pontiff.
So as Americans, and we think that we are a sovereign nation, the Queen of England and the papacy is still heavily involved in our governmental system?
Right. And one of the things, if you look at your 14th Amendment, that on the surface has been told to us that it has freed slaves, but in reality it has created a slave class of people here in this country, because you're now subject to all the laws and jurisdiction of the United States. You are a United States citizen, which is a different animal than an American.
Wow.
Well, I have heard that during the Civil War that it was incorporated. I don't know how true that is, that the country had been incorporated.
That's right.
As opposed to, as you said, American.
The unincorporated.
America, the United States of America, and the United States
So there's tricks which go into the language that we use on a daily basis. And for instance, the spellings, a small THE, then capital U and ITED, and as opposed, if you look at it, USA, all capitals. That's a different organization than the United States and proper English. So it's
And Doctor, we have, I wish I had brought my little book, but my little Constitution, I noticed that, especially when it comes time to do border issues. It says the United States of America is responsible for border control. Now, is that the states that are united, or is it the main organization in Washington, D.C.?
Well, this is part of the deception, that we can't have clarity. We don't have real good clarity of what it is that we're actually dealing with. So without seeing the spelling, and I get what you're saying about the United States of America versus the United States of America, which is different. And then we have the United States Inc., which is not of America, but it's U.S. Inc.
A lot of people during this last election, they said, that some of the voting machines were hooked via Wi-Fi into the internet, and some of the tabulation went over to Italy, which, of course,
right, the dominions.
Right. So the Vatican is inside the country; it's a sovereign country within Italy. But everybody was saying, well, why would they send it over to Italy? Why would our votes here in the United States why would they have any issue with our voting here? But what you're bringing to light now is that they have a strong influence.
A big web. There's
Wow.
a big web. And it's fascinating from just the science looking at it, an intellectual curiosity. But the deeper problem is that we have a situation where all that stuff means things to different people, and they're looking at things in a different light.
Wow.
So
now,
this.
I noticed
why don't
also
you read some
on
of
the
those?
handout. Look at this. You see, I don't know if you can see that very good,
You have another one of those, by chance?
but you see two different flags. You see the American flag, and we're coming to Independence Day. Everybody flies that American flag. But then you have another flag just right next to it over here, and it says that one is a peacetime flag and one is a wartime flag. Can you go into that just a little bit?
Yes. The United States has been at war, and I don't know how many decades, but the Trading with the Enemies Act, I believe it was, where they declared war on the citizenry of the United States, you and I, in other words. So the peace flag that's here is the civil flag, civil peace flag. So that should be flown in times of peace for Americans who are not at war.
And
not
the
U.S.
stripes are
The stripes
are vertical. on this
vertical
flag.
That's right. And the field is a inverse, blue versus red. I'm sorry, blue versus the white on here.
That is so interesting because I don't think the majority of the people have ever seen a peace flag. So the peace flag would fly when we're at peace here within our country,
Yeah.
or with other countries?
Well, this is the American flag. This is the U.S. flag with the 50 corporate states on there.
Okay, so one is the U.S. flag, you said?
This is the war flag is the U.S. flag,
Okay.
and then this is the American flag, which is flown when we are at peace.
Wow, that is amazing.
And you can go on Amazon, for instance, and get your own peace flag. They're not that expensive. About
All right, now
$15
I'm gonna read a couple of these.
Yeah,
Did
read
you know?
those.
Your birth certificate actually makes you a slave. It said it is a bond that has been making your owners, the Pope and the Crown, very, very rich. So, your birth certificate makes you a slave because you're bonded under the Pope and the Crown. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, sure. That's what I was somewhat referring to in the territorial and the municipal governments. That the birth certificate, when we're born, on the land we're Americans. And then the doctor has the mom of the baby sign that she is informing the doctor, who is actually a foreign agent of the Crown, and taking that and sending that to the Bureau of Vital Statistics, and then that gets stamped, and now you have been bonded as a U.S. citizen, no longer a man or woman upon the land.
Well, the interesting thing about this, under this theory, and I don't know, I haven't studied this, but we become collateral.
You are, exactly
We
right.
become collateral for monetary transactions then.
Right.
Because we have earning capabilities.
So it's the human energy which is the collateral for the debts. And I have seen figures upwards of, these bonds are traded by big institutions and whatnot, and it's part of the bond market. And it's been demonstrated that your name or my name or your name is used in commerce and has value upwards of $11 billion because it's traded back and forth in commodities markets and through the bond market and things of that
And Mom
nature.
never thought it'd amount to anything. Listen, I'm worth billions.
That's right. Just you can't get your hands on it.
Wow.
So here's another one. So Columbia, as in the District of Columbia, is the name for the goddess of creation, war, and destruction, more known as the goddess of death and pain. She's derived from the imagery of Semiramis, wife of Nimrod and queen of Babylon. So now, and then it goes on to further state that on February 20th, 1871, Congress passed an act to provide a government for the District of Columbia, also known as the Act of 1871, with no constitutional authority to do so. Congress creates a separate form of government for the District of Columbia, a 10-mile square parcel of land. Now, this has been in the news quite a bit lately because this legislature wants to make the District of Columbia into a state, which the Constitution specifically says it should not be a state because the seat of government is there and there should be no preference to any of the states.
I've heard that. I don't have a whole lot of commentary on it except to say which jurisdictional person are you talking about? Are you talking about the territorial jurisdiction or the municipal jurisdiction?
Ron, this is fascinating.
It is.
Because I've never heard anything like that. I haven't seen these flags over here. And, a lot of people would say, wait a second, this is just another conspiracy theory, which is basically the code for don't look there anymore. There's going to be enough research. I have not been on the website yet. Ron, have you been on it?
No, I have not. And, I didn't know about this organization, but, you mentioned the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is an interesting amendment because it deals with the, the 13th abolished slavery, but the 14th Amendment defined and described citizenship in the United States. And, of course, we already know that, anybody coming across the border and having a baby here, they say that their babies are automatically citizens.
Yeah, but
Well, yes, but I agree with you. I know what you're going to say, and I agree because if you study the 14th Amendment, but the 14th Amendment gives, believe it or not, blacks certain rights that nobody else has. The President of the United States is bound to protect black lives in America. And that's why, you were probably a little child then because I wasn't and I'm older than you, and I remember this. Do you remember when we had the Selma, Alabama, and the bringing in of black students into white schools?
Right.
Yep.
And I believe it was President Eisenhower called out the Army to escort them into. Now, why did he have the right to do that? He didn't by the Constitution, but the 14th Amendment gave special dispensation to the president to protect those people.
Because they were federal citizens.
They were federal citizens, that's right. And it's very difficult to read and understand that. But Ted Hayes, the black gentleman we had on here a couple of weeks ago,
Right.
He's got a website, I think it's called The 14th. And it goes into a great deal of detail. That's how I found out that the federal government is bound to take care of black people and under certain conditions, that you and I don't have that same right.
So, Doctor, do you think that the average person in the seat of Congress, that they understand these three separate entities and that they are constructing laws to not only follow them but to usurp additional powers from the people?
I do not believe that they fully understand the three different constitutions, because they grew up in the same educational system that we all did. And unless you have a way to take a little pickaxe and break through that hard shell of that programming that we've all grown up with, and we're just products of that programming, TV shows, and
If I could go one step further, this is Ron's opinion. I don't think that most people in Congress even understand the Constitution that we understand, because they break these things constantly. And, I mean, they were talking about just recently the H.R. 1. There is no question that the Constitution that we know does not allow the federal government to deal with local elections. That's strictly a state issue.
Right.
And yet the Democrat Party, almost to the person, was willing to do that. If it wasn't for the filibuster rule, that would be the law now.
Well, what's happening right now, we see it all the time. Somebody repeats something over and over and over again, and then they just take it as it was real. Like
COVID.
What's that?
Like COVID?
Yeah, exactly. So they say we are three separate yet equal branches of government. All you have to do is look in the Constitution and find out that Congress by far has the most power.
Yes.
Executive second, and by far, judicial has the least amount of power, only granting a Supreme Court and one Supreme Court judge. That's it.
Right.
But they will let us know that it's three separate yet equal branches, but the Declaration says judicial overreach was one of the main things, way above taxation without
And
representation.
all of the other courts, save the Supreme Court,
Right.
were not envisioned.
Another thing is we are a democracy. We are not a democracy. No. We are a representative republic, a constitutional representative republic. So, but people will say it over and over again, and that's when you hear Ron screaming at the TV saying, "We're a republic! We're not a democracy!"
And even our side says that. Even Tucker Carlson, whom I think is a brilliant person, he keeps talking about our democracy. We are not a democracy, guys. No. And you keep forcing that on us.
There was a reason why our founding fathers did not want a democracy. There's a reason. It's mob rule.
And we just saw that in the last election.
Yeah. So you must have a fire in your belly for the love of this country, and for it to operate effectively and efficiently as the Founding Fathers chose to do so. So you got involved with this, and what was the big thing, the big eye-opener where you said, wow, I have to get involved?
Oh boy, I think the story goes back decades, because I was a very all-in Boy Scout from age 11 through about 18.
Eagle Scout. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Most respect for Eagles.
Yes.
Believe me.
Yeah.
Well, being in that environment and growing up at that time, I took all those things to heart. Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful,
friendly, courteous, kind,
that.
obedient, cheerful, truthful,
So
brave, clean, and reverent. Yes.
Never forget that, right?
No.
So when I was in grammar school, the nature of the U.S., they switched during Jimmy Carter's years to teaching a U.S. history compared to American history, and that was a big shift. Now, when I was in grammar school, we had access to the original Constitution in our textbooks, our civics books, and I remember reading in there about how lawyers are not supposed to have seats in power within the government. Well, what do we have today?
Most of them are
All
lawyers.
lawyers.
Almost all lawyers.
Yeah.
And so that has stuck with me. And I also remember reading in through Boy Scouts about came out of the Army, and it described what is a democracy, that we are a constitutional republic, that there is a democracy form of government, there's dictators, fascism, and it laid it all out. And so that hit into this raw little boy that stuck with me all these years, and I just kept looking and seeing all the things that are not in alignment with that way of being. So that's why I found that newspaper, The Spotlight, years ago, and all kinds of different readings that have just, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So different things would come to me, and learning, and it has been quite the journey, because so much stuff is hidden from view, as we just talked about, the 3 different constitutions, 3 different forms of government, and the different law forms, and what you're reading in these little handout that we have
Just
here.
fascinating.
And it's so deep, and because it's been going on for over 100 years, 150 years.
Well, I'll tell you what. I want to definitely hook you up with Great State Alliance, which is a wonderful organization too, and I think you would mesh very
probably
well with them. So again, we just want to send everybody over here so you can have and be very, very informed on this. It's www.theamericanstatesassembly.net. Now, do they have I'm sure they're going to give you lots of information, how you can get involved, and possibly even, do you do some fundraisers as well?
We haven't had any fundraisers. We do have locally meet and greets. And there's one coming up in July 17th at 14th Avenue and Northern. There's a little church, and it's Desert something, and it's in the afternoon, and it's a very nice, congenial meet and greet, and invite anybody to come out and
so this is
stop by.
July 17th?
Yes.
You said, and that's Saturday? Is that
Yes,
a Saturday? Okay,
yes.
Saturday. And that's
Saturday.
going to be at what time?
It's goes from noon till about 4.
Okay, noon to 4, meet and greet. Find out a little bit more about the American States Assembly, July 17th. And you said the address?
It's I think 1453 West Northern.
1453
It's a
West
little-
Northern.
it's a
So
little
14th
church.
Avenue and Northern, little church. North side of the street, south?
North side.
North side. All right. And you know what? Do you mind sending me a text and just reminding me like a week before, and we'll advertise it again
Sure.
here for you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So how many people here in the Valley are part of this organization?
I don't know, because I don't have a
Well,
way of knowing.
it's not only here in Arizona.
Oh, it's all across the country.
This is a countrywide.
That's correct.
And how long have they been in existence?
This movement has been going on, I'm going to say probably 15 years or more with that group, as they've been, think of a big onion.
Right.
A big onion, and they're peeling one layer at a time off, and the layers are real thin.
Right.
So it's taking a lot of time for the information to be vetted and to be validated so that people can count on what is being put out there. And
So heavily vetted.
heavily vetted.
Okay. And these are vetted by constitutional scholars, constitutional attorneys. So, I mean, who's looking this over?
There's a group known as the Living Law Firm, and they're volunteers all across the country. I've never met one person that is that, but I'm just one person myself. So, speaking of person, did you know in the world of legalese, a person is considered a corporation?
A person as an individual is considered a corporation.
In law,
Wow.
Black's Law Dictionary, a person is a corporation.
So it's similar to a corporation is considered
A
a
person.
person. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So it works both ways.
It's interesting. I was noticing in one of the Arizona laws when it deals with campaign finance law, and it was talking about campaign finance committees, and I always thought this was strange language. Did you know that a committee is one or more people that are brought together to raise money for a candidate? One or more is a committee, which means anybody's a committee. The
Yep.
same thing.
So
Same
Ron-
thing you're talking
These are
about.
So Ron,
words of art.
if somebody said to you, "I'm just a little concerned with your corporate structure," you shouldn't necessarily take that personally.
See my corporate attorney.
Well, I'll tell you what, this has been so eye-opening, and I encourage everyone, please do your own research. We come here every Monday, every Wednesday to present to you the facts that we know and that we want to share with you. A lot of things, grassroots. I mean, we are all into that because we want everybody to get involved in your community. You know, I can remember, and you can probably remember too, being an Eagle Scout, and I'm so impressed, I got to tell you. Being, a physician is high, but being an Eagle Scout, I think that's the tops.
Thank you.
You'll find out that a lot of people want to get involved. And back in school, I can remember the whole basis for the education system, as you know, comes from Proverbs 1:7. It's the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. They said if we can teach God, if we can teach the morals from God, and then everything follows. So we were always taught how to be a good person and how to be a good citizen. Because people come to our country and they think, I automatically just get a whole bunch of stuff and there's no participation on my side. But it's so untrue. To be that good person, you have to participate. And to be a good citizen, you need to participate as well. And whether it's sitting on the couch and making phone calls, whether it's going out and volunteering your time, whether it's reaching into your pocket and donating them, whether handing out flyers, whether it's working on a campaign, to be a good person, to be a good citizen, is a requirement to be a good American. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ron, You've always
Exactly.
been a good American. You were heavily
Yeah,
involved with the Tea Party system. Because this has been around for about 15 years, and we know that the Tea Party was happening right around 10 years ago, I would think that they would have embraced these ideas. Ron?
I didn't even know about this. I mean, I knew some parts of what you're discussing, but I didn't know there was an organization.
Well, let's get
You know,
this out there.
being a student of the Civil War, I did know that there was a incorporation that was during that particular time, but didn't know much about it. And as far as most of us are
That was
laymen
the
are
Lieber
concerned,
Code.
pardon me.
The Lieber Code. That's what Lincoln brought in at the time, and really changed the whole part of the way the country operated. So
Lieber Code. Lieber Code?
L-I-E-B-E-R.
Okay.
L-I-E-B-E-R.
All right, we're
Yep.
going to have to look that one up too.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got
Well-
more music, and we have yet another guest who is here in our studio, and we're going to be right back after this, and you're going to see, this is one of our lovelies.
Yeah.
This is
And you
Doris.
know, Doctor, thank you so much for doing this at the last minute. Please send our
You
best,
bet.
send
Okay.
our prayers.
And I look
to
forward to
everyone
working
there.
with you some more.
Yeah, we're gonna hook you up with some people over here.
Okay.
And don't forget to
Okay.
join them at the
Don't-
American.
don't go away, we'll be right back.
Net.